The administration made a pivot towards Asia, and a central economic and military goal of the president as his second term. But an international dispute between China and U.S. ally, the Philippines, over obscure islands in the South China Sea, has been a major obstacle to those plans. And today, the International Court, The Hague, ruled that China has no historic claims on those islands. And it infuriated the Chinese government. It has vowed to ignore the ruling and will continue to expand its armed forces and those man-made military bases in the area. So what will the impact be on U.S. military ambitions in the Pacific Rim? What will our partners do? Joining me now, Andrew Peak, Carl Higbie, and David Larter. David, let me start with you. You write for the Navy Times. You know, I think this ruling has implications that otherwise could have been the top of the headlines, because at some point Japan's going to have to think about ditching their pacifist constitution, and the rest of the region is going to go to a full-fledged arms race.
Well, you know, obviously that's the concern. I think all the countries in the region are pretty focused on de-escalating at the moment. You know,
they are. North Korea, China, they're focused on de-escalating. Are you serious?
Well, I would say the partners, the U.S. partners like the Philippines. The Philippines statement today was pretty low key. It wasn't, you know, beating the drums of war or anything. I think this has been a pretty round rejection of China's arguments of historic dominion over the South China Sea, and I think most people are trying to, even the U.S. government was pretty tempered in its response. So I think generally they're not trying to pile on, because they've already been, you know, pretty much humiliated on the international stage. China has.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, Andrew. I don't think China cares about humiliation on the international stage. They want what they think is over 200 billion barrels of oil in the South China Sea, and they're going to get it by hook or by crook. And I don't know that they're intimidated by America or the rest of the world.
No, that's exactly right. You know, and what makes the situation even more dangerous is that President Xi in China is sort of been the driving force behind China's island-building policy. And he's come under intense internal criticism because of that, because it's unified China's southern neighbors against it, really in an unprecedented way for the first time. And so he's in a position now where he has to make this policy a success. And that means doubling down on the confrontation and the military base building and the creation of airstrips on these fake islands in the sea.
You know, Carl, I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, a top official in the Philippines actually said they were okay with Japan rearming. And if anyone understands the history, the atrocities that Japan committed in the Philippines and other areas during World War II, it's an astonishing statement, but they said they must head off an imperialistic China. I mean, because I guess none of them think we're going to step up to the plate.
Well, actually, that's absolutely right. And we have to look at this from a, you know, the mile-high vision. Look, we're not going to go to war with China. We're going to shoot a destroyer in there. He might tool around. They might do a flyby and stuff like that. China doesn't want to go to war with us. We don't want to go with war to China. But that decision today is only as powerful as we are willing to enforce it. Nobody else is going to enforce it. It's just going to be us.
What happens, though, when they start to keep building these islands, they start to drill for oil, and I mean, what happens when our neighbors say, guys, help us? We've got a ruling from the International Court. We need our allies to help us. Do we step up, or what do we do?
Well, like all NATO and allied efforts, America is the one leading the charge. Let's be honest.
But do we have the nerve to do that? Or because would-be President Trump says, Japan, you got to pay your own freight from here on out.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is we impose trade. Worst case scenario, we go to war. Nobody wants to go to war with China. I don't think it's a good idea.
All right, guys, let's leave it there. I tell you what, though, a shocking development. In the meantime, Donald Trump